Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Sunday with Addicted to Gear is underway, it looks like. I think we're live. I think I see your comments. I hope you see my and hear my voice and ready to get started on another Sunday. The Sundays are just whizzing by. Good morning, everybody. I'm always happy to jump into the show and see a bunch of people already waiting. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for joining me and the rest of the guys here for the live Sunday show. I appreciate it. I can see that there's a bunch of very familiar faces here. So one person here is looking with donuts and coffee. Gene. Hey, Gene. Nice to see you. You seem to be new, unless I missed you on previous live shows, so welcome. Obviously a bunch of people that have been here over and over again, like Fat Philosopher, Larry, Christian, Wayne, Rich, House of Twang, Paul. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. Jeff, nice to see you, buddy. I hope you guys are all doing really well. John is here as well. Presley, California Customs, Gospel of Mark, everybody. Lots of familiar faces. So I'm happy to see you guys all here, and hopefully you're all in tip-top shape. I'm looking forward to another hour or so of chit-chat regarding gear. Today I was playing this guitar that I think you've seen on my reviews. It basically, in a nutshell, it's a... I can never pronounce these Chinese names, but I believe it's Zawei, something along those lines. Basically, what it is a Charvel knockoff. Everything is pretty much Charvel except for the headstock, which is flipped over the other way and looks more like a Sir headstock. But you know, you can see the appointments on the back with the way the input jack goes. That's definitely 100% Charvel. Rounded contour here. You got a little bit of a contour here as well. Nice roasted maple neck. I mean, the guitar, honestly, for the money is quite good. The only thing that obviously might be worthwhile upgrading on this guitar are the pickups. But that goes without saying. Most of the time, that's what I hone in on, is the pickups. But generally, I don't know, I mean, it sounds okay. As far as the tuning goes, tuning stability on the guitar is okay. Not 100% the best. It's got a bow nut on this guitar as well, so I'm liking it. And it's overall set up quite nice. I think just the action needs to be lowered just a smidge, and that's the reason why I had the guitar out today. I was kind of evaluating what needed to be done on it. But you know, it's a nice guitar. I like it a lot. So I want to say welcome to all the newcomers today. So thank you for joining the show that is dedicated to all of you out there that are addicted, that have this gear addiction driving your every purchase. I hope that you guys have been quite careful with your purchases over the last week or so since the last live show. I know some of you guys were looking at some new gear. Some of you had made some purchases. I was generally a good boy in terms of gear. I didn't actually buy anything new. I do have something lined up for tomorrow, however. Something that I'm going to be picking up. It's a new pedal that I wanted to try out and was curious about. I don't want to spill the beans just yet, but I'm probably going to show you guys next week. And actually, I sold two guitars. I sold two guitars this week. As I mentioned, springtime cleaning is underway here, so I'm trying to slowly shift around some dough so that I can plan some future purchases that I have in mind. So if you guys are doing the same, I'd like you guys to share that with us and let us know what's going on and what you're looking at and what you're gassing over, and maybe what you got into arguments about with your wife over the last couple of days since we last spoke. I know that happens quite often with people that are gear addicted. So let me just scroll really quickly down the chat here and see if anybody has already posted any comments as to any goodies that they've picked up. And if not, that's okay. We got more than enough to talk about today. Let's see here. You guys are being shy. You're not sharing today yet. Maybe it's still too early. Let's see here. Fat Philosopher says, I hope Tony's not getting sick of us. No, man, not at all. I appreciate you guys very much. I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the channel. It's always great to see you guys here. Rico's here again from sunny Arizona as well. So Alan, I mentioned the name of the guitar. This is Zawe, I believe it's pronounced. I don't know if you can see that on the headstock. Pretty cool, interesting guitar. Not very expensive. Great modding platform. Pretty solidly built. I don't see any issues with the guitar so far. But I will talk about a mod that I'm thinking about doing on this guitar in a couple of seconds here. I find that these colors that are popping out now between this, the new colors are kind of like the Silver Sky that I showed you last week, which was a green. I find these colors now are slowly finding their way into the repertoire of the guitar makers. People are tending to go with these more kind of in-between mixed colors kind of thing that are not kind of specifically one color or the other. If you're colorblind, it's a real challenge to identify some of the colors these days. But I think that's the new thing. I've seen some cars as well with these kind of paint jobs. I saw a really nice Porsche the other day also that had like this kind of these new colors that are kind of in fashion right now. The challenge or the risk is that these colors are going to be in fashion short term, but then maybe a year from now you're going to be looking at the guitar and saying, time to break out the spray paint, Fat Philosopher, can't speak. Fat Philosopher says maybe could use a Vega trem. Yeah, maybe could use a Vega trem, but I think that this trem is not that bad. So I have an idea for the Vega trem that I'm going to be putting on another guitar, but it won't be this guitar. Hey Landon, good morning to you, buddy. How's it going? And if anybody hasn't already checked out Landon Bailey's channel, do so. He's got some really cool content and a great sense of humor. Maybe eventually Landon and I could do something together and entertain you guys. I don't know. We'll see. Gospel of Mark says, no new gear for me this week except for a new Ernie Ball cable. Needed another cable for gigs. The Ernie Ball stuff's quite good, Mark. I have always felt that Ernie Ball really does give good quality for the money. They're maybe a little bit more expensive, but generally they're good quality. All right, we have Gary here as well. Keith. Let's see here. Gassing over a lefty V with Floyd Rose on reverb, says Fat Philosopher. Floyd Rose with a flying V with Floyd Rose. That's an interesting. So what's the issue? Why aren't you just grabbing it? Is it the price? Is it the is the price not as good as you you feel you want to spend for that kind of combination, or what? What's the scenario? Mark is trying to sell his Mesa. Why, Mark? Why are you trying to sell your Mesa? I thought you loved that that amplifier. What's going on? And more importantly, if you're going to sell the Mesa, what are you going to replace it with? Is it because you were having some issues with it, or what's the story exactly? I'd like to get the scoop if you can. Randy says, man, I'm late. Hello, Tony, and greetings, world. Much love from Southern Illinois. No issue, Randy. Better late than never, I always say. Presley, California Custom says, I'm almost never gas, but that moon fuzz going around seems very, very interesting. Now, which moon fuzz are you referring to? I I don't know if I'm up to speed on the moon fuzz. I'm not a big fuzz guy. Maybe that's why I haven't noticed or I haven't paid attention to it. I don't necessarily feel the need for too much fuzz in my signal chain. But if you find it's interesting and maybe worth a look, I'll take a look myself. Definitely always looking for new stuff. John says loved my Squire Contemporary Strat so much, bought a second one to mod. I want to put in a Floyd on that one. What do you think? Well, the Squire Contemporary stuff is cool. I have two myself. I have a black one and a red one. Definitely great modding platforms, great guitars. I think on both of those guitars, I did already make some mods. One, I put in a brass block from FU Tone just to see if it could get a little bit of a different sound, because I did notice that, and I think that is this comment that I'm gonna put out there is due to the fact that maybe the material for the bridge blocks that are in those guitars are not necessarily really dense. So to me, when you listen to the guitar unplugged, those guitars unplugged, they do sound like they have a little bit of a hollow sound to them. So the brass block definitely improved that, in my opinion. So if you're going with a Floyd, generally the Floyd Rose block is not very big or thick or dense, but the actual Floyd itself has a lot of mass. So I don't know if you're going with a real Floyd, or if you're going with one of the more budget-friendly versions or the OEMs. If you're gonna put a Floyd on that, it'll be a cool guitar. You're definitely gonna have to probably do some routing out of the bridge, because I don't know if the bridge is gonna be the right size. The bridge cutout I'm referring to, I don't know if that's gonna be the right size for the Floyd, so you might have to route that out a little bit, which you have to be super careful with, because sometimes when you're routing a guitar that's already painted, you can definitely get some chip out on the paint, which you don't necessarily want to do. You want to be careful doing that, but it's doable. And the other thing you have to obviously modify is the neck. You're going to probably have to build out a little shelf to put in the locking nuts in that guitar. So if you want to do that, it's doable. You'll basically be building yourself a Charvel at that point, because basically, if it's the same model like the ones I have, they're basically humbucker configurations, basically very similar to a Charvel for a lot less money. I mean, you can get a Charvel today for what, $1,000? You can get the contemporary ones. I don't know what they're going for today, but when I picked mine up, I picked them up used, and I picked them up for peanuts. I think there was under $300. So definitely a great modding platform for under $300 if you want to slap a Floyd Rose on there. I would just give you the advice: don't go with the OEM stuff, the Chinese Floyds. They're not worth it. Anything that you can see floating around on eBay for like $40-50, generally not worth it. You're gonna have more headaches than anything with those. I would recommend save your money. Go with an actual Floyd if you can, or a Goto version of the Floyd is also a good choice, and you're going to avoid a lot of headaches, and you're going to enjoy the guitar substantially more. That's my advice. Let's see here. Leonard says Tony is sick of us, but the doctor has him on medication, so he'll be okay. You guys, let me give you a little cheer of water here. Have to wet the whistle. So thanks for everyone that has been supporting the channel. I definitely want to put that out there. I really do appreciate you guys supporting me. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just tuning in for the shows is already support enough. I know some of you have definitely helped with some super chats. Some of you have purchased some swag. Definitely helpful to support the channel. And most of all, I appreciate the thumbs up and the likes on the videos that I put out there as well. That is also goes a long way to support the channel and allow me to continue what I'm doing. Is my voice a little bit too low today, guys? I don't know if I can maybe put up the volume on the voice a little bit more. Seem to feel like I'm a little bit. Let me just pump it up slightly there, just to be a little louder. Is that okay? I don't want to be too loud, but I want I'm a little bit far from the mic today, so I can tell when I'm not loud enough when I don't hear my dog snoring in the background in the headphones. So Cool Tune says, finally tried out my classic the 20 mini head. So far I'm happy. It cleans are great. It takes pedals really good. Can't wait for the matching cab with vintage 30s. Should be improved significantly. Those classic 20 heads are pretty good, man. I can't say that they're shabby in any way. They're definitely built to last. I've had a couple of different versions of those amps as well in the past, and always was pretty pleased with them. Definitely a cab upgrade with some good speakers would definitely make the sound even better. So yeah, I think you're gonna like it, buddy. I think it's a good choice, and it's not that expensive either, you know. And I feel that 20 a 20 watt configuration is perfect for today. Um, Fat Philosopher says, I love Floyd's as long as I don't have to change tunings. Yeah, and changing strings too is a bit of a hassle on a Floyd. You have to say that you have to get everything in balance again. And it does take a little bit of time to balance out the Floyds. So if you don't have that kind of time to invest and you're not that handy with changing strings on a Floyd, and definitely it definitely could be a bit more of a challenge, but with Floyds, you either like them or you hate them. You know, there's kind of no in between. Right now, I don't have any guitars, well, except for the one I built, the Frankenstrat here, and the Kramer sort of striped series that I made. Those are the only two guitars that I currently have with a Floyd Rose on them. You know, I'm liking the Floyds on those guitars, but generally most of my other guitars don't usually have Floyds on them. Larry says, I bought some VH patches for my Helix, downloaded them, and they sound like crap. Where did you, I don't know if I should ask you this question. Maybe it's not a good idea to indicate where you got the patches from. But it's really disappointing when you spend money on something like patches and they end up not sounding too great. Have you tried making your own? I mean, it's not that difficult to... The way I like to go about making patches for any kind of multi-effects is like I usually go through the USB so I can hear the music from a song in my headphones at the same time as I hear the sound from my guitar. That's one of the great things with the multi-effects today. You can actually use it to practice silently, and you can stream the music and listen to it over and over in a loop in your headphones, and you're not really bothering anyone. So that's always a good thing. The way I usually go about it is I try and get, especially for Van Halen stuff, there's a lot of this stuff floating around the internet. What I usually try and do is I try and get isolated tracks of Ed's guitar, especially from stuff like Van Halen 1 and that kind of era. And you end up getting a really good idea of what the sound was like. You can get a clear indication of how the reverb was set, and you can pretty much mimic the sound pretty easily. One of the things that I noticed with Van Halen sounds is that he didn't really have... It sounds like he has a ton of gain, but he actually doesn't really have that much gain. So often when I hear Van Halen type patches, they often have just too much gain. And that's one of the things. The main thing with Van Halen is really to get the reverb, the plate reverb sound. That's really super important. And one of the tricks that they were using in the studio at the time was that you would have like a left channel that was basically clean, and the right channel that had all of the plate reverb. So if you can split the effect on your multi-effect unit, that way it ends up sounding more realistic. Ed says, my Delta 6 resonator was delivered Friday, impressed with craftsmanship from Eastwood. Nice to hear, Ed. So give me your feedback. You say you're impressed. What do you, give me your take on it. What do you like about it? What's the good? What's the bad? Give us your impression. I'm always interested in hearing anything regarding craftsmanship of guitars I haven't had the ability to try yet, and just to get a better understanding of what they're offering their customers. Gene says, the price of gas is making me stay home and buy more guitars. Yeah, I mean, if you can afford to stay home and not drive around, you're definitely saving a ton of money. Might as well put it towards gear. That's what I always say. KC says I got an Ibanez S770 Burl Top, solid, two fairly inexpensive guitars to sold two fairly inexpensive guitars to get it. Got a good guitar and still made a little more room in my guitar room. Win-win. So Casey, is this the first Ibanez guitar that you purchased, or you are an Ibanez fan? I know some people that usually like Ibanez guitars usually have more than one. And you know, there's definitely a very specific feel and sound related to the Ibanez guitars. So this is why I'm asking, you know, are you strictly playing Ibanez guitars right now, or are you switching between Ibanez and say Strats or something pretty that feels pretty different like a Les Paul? Give us a little bit of insight on your scenario right now. Fat Philosopher says the Japanese yen is tanking, so it's hard to buy any gear from overseas. Why is it tanking? Is this all related to what's going on with the COVID situation? Is it related to what's going on with Russia? What's going on exactly, Fat Philosopher? I'm not up to speed on all this financial situation, but I'd be very interested in learning more if you can share with us. FX Teen says good morning, you locos. Good morning to you too, buddy. Cool Tune says I don't see these flashy colors being a serious color for a guitar. My 2 cents. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things that when it comes to colors, people generally like the standard white, black, sunburst, red. You know, the standard fail-safe colors. When people take chances with when companies take chances with guitars, specifically like what comes to mind, you know, Charvel usually has pretty like out there colors that either you love or hate. Generally, you end up buying one because that's the only color available, and then you know it either grows on you or doesn't. The Silver Sky that I have lying here beside me in green, you know, it's one of these colors that, you know, it would have to take a while to grow on you, I guess. But that's kind of the trend. They're trying to offer people something a little different, instead of the same old. Let's see here. Hey Jamel, nice to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you around in a while. Good to see you. Hope everything's cool. John says would love to see a Tony and Landon video. Yeah, maybe we'll see. You know, Landon's people are hard to get a hold of. You know, he's way up there now, and you know, my people will have to talk to his people, and you know, it gets complicated. Anyways, just kidding. So Leonard says Tony. Cortec Corp / Court Guitars bought DoD Digitech Lexicon. Thoughts? You know, I don't have thoughts. I'm winging it here, guys. No, seriously. I think, you know, Court Guitars, the company that makes Court Guitars, makes pretty decent stuff. And a lot of people don't realize how many guitars they actually make for other companies. They actually make quite a few guitars for other companies, the OEM for them. And they're actually a pretty big organization. So the fact that they bought DAW, Digitech, and Lexicon, to me is a good thing, because I felt like those other brands, DAW, Digitech, and Lexicon, were not really doing much these days. Back in my day when I was younger, Lexicon made some really good stuff. Digitech made some really good stuff as well. I can't say I'm a big fan or connoisseur of DAW effects. I have tried some pedals here and there. There were kind of, you know, friends pedals and stuff like that from DAW. I don't remember them being bad. I don't remember them being outstanding. They were just kind of like out there. But I think that if a company like Court gets a hold of these other brands and hopefully breathes some light and life into them and injects some money, they might just revive something really good. And you know, we need variety. We need more choice, right, guys? So I'm all for that. Hopefully, that's what will happen. And you know, in some cases, it's happened before that companies take over and buy another company just to get them out of the way. But I don't think Court has that intention because, from my understanding, they don't really make effects. They focus on instruments, so there would be no reason for them to can the other companies just to get them out of the way. Like, you know, if another company like TC Electronics would buy, you know, one of those companies, it could be just, you know, to basically absorb their IP and get rid of them, and you know, eliminate another contender. But I don't think that's going to be the situation. So time will tell. Hey Alex 2112, nice to see you, buddy. Let me just scroll down. Mark says, I fell out of love with the Mesa, hard to dial in tones. For a lot cheaper, I can get tones I prefer. I don't know what happened with this amp. Mark, it sounds like you're kind of living a parallel life with me, because I had the same situation with Mesa amps. I tried over and over again to really like them. I gave them more than enough. I attempted more than enough times to actually try different amps to find the one I liked in the Mesa line. And lo and behold, after quite a few, many times of banging my head, I realized that they weren't the amp for me, and I ended up looking elsewhere. So I don't know what you have in mind to replace the Mesa that you had. If you're looking at maybe going the multi-effects route, if you're looking at possibly getting one or two other guitars, I'm not really sure, but I'd be curious to find out what the situation is there. Let's see here. Hey, Cool Tunes, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate that, man. Very nice of you. Always happy to you know, see the support. So thank you for the super chat. You didn't even have a question for me or anything. I thought maybe you'd want to ask something. If you do have a question, shoot. I'm all ears. Alex says Dodd pedals are dead. Technology has passed them by. That's unfortunately the reality. If you stop innovating, you're basically left in the dust. And I think that's what ended up happening with Dodd. So maybe they need an injection of extra money, investment, new people, new blood, which always costs money. But if they do that, hopefully they'll come out with something interesting. Alexander says, I think everyone has the same story with their amp. Love it one day, hate it the next, try an EQ pedal in the loop. Yes and no, Alexander. I mean, I agree with you. I think sound changes depending on your mood. So what you like one day is going to be different than when you like another day. Absolutely. It happens to me every single day, between guitars, effects, pedals, whatever. You think you have things dialed in and just the way you want it, you know, you're like, finally, it's sounding perfect. And you'll come back the next day and play it again, and you're like, it doesn't sound as good today. What's going on, you know? And you come to realize that most of the time it's you, it's your state of mind and what you're hearing that particular day. But I find that if you have a good amp, a pretty flexible amp, you tend to like it more than you hate it, you know what I mean? And I found with Mesa amps, they are very tricky to dial in, I have to say, because their tone stack works in a different way. And once you finally understand that, you can kind of tweak. But unless you're a tweaker, like some people don't want to spend time tweaking, they want to spend time playing. And unless you're a tweaker, it's a little bit of a pain to have to kind of constantly dial things in to that extent. So I totally understand Mark's dilemma right now. But yes, to your point, try an EQ in the pedal or loop. An EQ can do a lot and could make the sound, could allow you a little bit more flexibility in dialing in the sound. Absolutely. Hey Leo, good morning to you. Presley says, I guess I just Got lucky on my Mesa Nomad. It's everything I needed. I don't know if it's luck or just, that's the sound that you're looking for. Everybody's looking for a different sound in their head depending on what you're playing. And it gets a little bit more complicated if you're playing a cover band. If in a cover band and you're looking to cover a lot of territory, then you really need a lot of flexibility, That's why I'm kind of leaning now towards, like, I think I have my amp situation covered. I think I'm okay with the amps that I have today. But I am leaning, or at least interested in the Fractal FM9 unit. Just because playing around with these less expensive multi-effects unit has kind of given me the taste to kind of go a little bit further. And I think the Fractal stuff is well made and a good, solid foundation for a lot of different things that you can do in the studio and live with those multi-effects units. So I'm kind of on the waiting list for that, guys. I sent in my name. Unfortunately, they're out of stock due to the chip shortage. I'm gonna have to wait, but eventually they're probably gonna contact me. At that point, who knows when that's gonna be? Could be in the fall sometimes. If it is in the fall sometimes, depending on what's happening with other things, I might bite the bullet and actually grab one. I'm not really sure, but I'm on the waiting list. If I had to, if they would contact me today, I would probably grab one. If in the fall, who knows? Things could change. Randy says, Tony, ever heard of a Powerhouse Strat? It's like a poor man's Clapton Strat. I'm building one from a loaded body I bought years ago. A Powerhouse Strat. I didn't know. I don't really know what that is. I would have to look it up. Powerhouse Strat. Let me see if I can quickly just Google that. And maybe I did see it. And Fender Deluxe Powerhouse Strat. Let me see what the images on this looks like. Deluxe Powerhouse Strat. So now, is this? It looks, from what I can see in the photos, looks like a standard Strat. But I guess there's some hidden features in this guitar because it is. I think it is. It has powered active pickups, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you're basically working on building your own version of this. What pickups are you going to put in there? Are they going to be EMGs or some other type of powered pickups? Give me a little bit more feedback on what you're trying to do there. It's interesting, Randy. I'm always interested in getting ideas to do new things for builds. I never really considered a Powerhouse Strat. I'm not a real big fan of powered active pickups. So that's probably why. But give me a little bit more feedback in terms of what you're trying to achieve there. I'm curious now. Mark says, I gigged with my Katana the other day and it was perfect for what I needed. Loud, clean pedal platform. If I sell the Mesa, I want to get an SG. All right, so you're kind of shifting your money from an amp to a guitar. I get that. Okay, and you're happy with your Katana. So there you go, man. So why, if it's doing what you need, why go elsewhere? If that's what you're looking for in terms of a sound, at least for now, and it's doing what you need, save your money, buy the guitar. Eventually, I'm sure you're going to come across some other amp that's going to give you the warm and fuzzies. Or end up saving your money and putting the money towards something like an Axe-Fx or something like that, where you can cover a heck of a lot of ground with that. And just get yourself a pair of stereo FR speakers, which are kind of small, powered already. And the fact that they're stereo, these multi-effects units can go out in stereo, and you're in business, man. You'll be able to cover a heck of a lot of ground, especially for live gigs. Billy Beer says, keep up the good work, dude. I always learn good things. Thank you, Billy. I appreciate that, buddy. And Paul's Paul always schools me on new stuff. He says Cortec has been around since the 1960s. It's American and still run from the U.S. by the son of the founder. Yeah, and if you look at Paul, if you find or if you can Google some of the brands that Cortec builds for, I don't know if it's going to be easy to find that information because sometimes they don't want to share that information, but I'm sure you'll be surprised by the list of guitar manufacturers that use them. Close or open the speaker cabs, your thoughts. Fortunately, the cab I'm waiting for has an option to remove the back. Well, that's what I was going to say, Cool Tunes. Like, if you have an option to buy a cabinet that has the ability to either go open or closed, that's the best if you can. The ones I have here, my 212 is configured like that. I can actually open up the back. The Marshall one obviously is closed back. The 412 is closed back. And I have two, well, I have another 1x12 over there, which is, it's actually closed back, but there's actually a little grill, so it's not technically closed. It's not technically open. It's semi-closed, I guess. The thing I feel is that when you're dealing with sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I just have to, somebody loves me and sending me a text here. Just give me 1 second. I'll be, all right. Sorry about that. I apologize. What I was going to say, Cool Tunes, is that when you're dealing with any kind of open back cabinets, you definitely get more air. What I mean, I don't mean physical air. I mean the sound tends to disperse from both the front and the back. So the sound sounds more open. When you're dealing with a closed back, you definitely have more of a tighter sound. I believe you get more punch, depending on the cabinet, the proportions of the cabinets as well. Some give you more punch than others, but generally they seem to be more focused, tight, and punchy, in my opinion. So it depends what kind of music you're playing, you know. Gene says I have 14 guitars and 0 amps. So Gene is either playing through multi-effects or perhaps playing through, you know, maybe acoustic guitars or something like that. And that also reminds me, I did put up a poll yesterday. If you guys may or may not have seen it, it was on my channel on YouTube. And basically the poll question was, how many guitars do you own? And I'm curious to see what the answer is. I didn't check it this morning. So let me just go in there and quickly take a look at what the answer is to the poll questions. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll see if I can give you a little bit of feedback on that. And here we are. So we got 140 votes on yesterday's questions. How many guitars do you currently own? Now, if you haven't already answered the question, you could go in and give your vote there. And it looks to me, so the answers were, number 1 was 1 guitar, number 2 was 2 to 5 guitars, 3 was 5 to 10 guitars, 10 to 20 guitars, and more than 20 guitars. So interesting that the lowest response was 1 guitar. So there's not a lot of you out there that own just 1 guitar, which actually I'm not actually surprised. I think guitars are like tattoos. When you start getting them, you can't stop. So having only 1 guitar, 9% of you said that you have only 1 guitar. Interestingly enough, 2 to 5 was the sweet spot. 45 of you said you own between 2 and 5 guitars, which seems about right to me. 5 and 10, 21%. 10 to 20, 18%. And then more than 20, only 7%. So unfortunately, I fall into the more than 20 range. So that actually, more than 20 is the response that we got from people owning more than 20 guitars was less than the response from people owning one guitar. So we're in the minority, yeah, and the majority is between 2 and 5 guitars, which sounds about right to me. So that was interesting, and like I said, if you haven't taken the poll and you want to provide your feedback, then definitely do that, and maybe we can change those numbers. Who knows? Let's see here. Coolton says 5 acoustics, 4 electrics. So that's another interesting question is, what is the ratio between acoustics and electric? I would think that most people have more electric guitars than acoustics. Unless, of course, you're playing a specific style of music where you would need to focus on that acoustic sound. In my home here, I have mostly electrics, and I would say in my entire house at this moment, I know I have 2, 3. Let me see. Wait, 2, 3, 4. There's probably 4 acoustic guitars lying around my house right now. Not all of them are mine. 2 of them are mine. Actually, 3 of them are mine, and 1 is my son's. So, the ratio between electrics and acoustics is pretty much in favor of electrics, at least in my house here. Alex says, I own 30 guitars and can't stop looking for my next axe. That's why you're here, Alex. That's why we have the support group. This is what the show's all about. Presley says 2 acoustics, 15-ish electrics. That sounds about right. And St. Brando says I have quite a few, but I do, however, have an island guitar, and that's my Telecaster. Yes, yes, indeed, the almighty Telecaster. So Jeff says, run another poll. How many guitars did you own pre-pandemic? Interesting, Jeff. That's an interesting question. Yeah. So how many pre-pandemic? How many post-pandemic? Maybe. Unfortunately, the poll feature in YouTube doesn't allow me to ask more than 5 questions. So if you want to really get some detailed information where you're comparing like pre and post pandemic, you're limited to 5 questions. Quicksilver says, I keep selling more guitars, promise not to buy more, but along comes a cheap guitar that looks way too enticing. Bingo. That's my problem too, Quicksilver. Happens to me all the time. And if it's not a guitar, it's an amp. If it's not an amp, it's a pedal, and so on and so forth. That's the way it rolls around here. I need to start a support group for Guitarholics Anonymous. Well, that's what this show is. It's kind of like Guitarholics Anonymous, except it's addicted to gear, right? So, gear addiction. It's okay. It's okay. We totally understand, and we can support you. Mark doesn't even count acoustics. That's how deep he's into it. Alex says, I had to sneak the guitars past my wife when I bring them to the basement. I do that too. Don't tell my wife. The trick is to bring them in when she's not around. If she's out for the day, sneak it in at that time. I don't want to say it too loud. She's, my wife is catching on. She's catching on. She's watching these shows now, and I got to be careful. Cool Tune says, I forgot. I got a Roland Micro Cube a few months ago from a Florida home. Very good for practice. Battery powered amp. Those I can't really talk about the Micro Cube amps, but the standard Cube amps that were around a while ago are workhorses. Those things you can't kill them, and they sound really good, surprisingly good actually. But you don't see them around very often. Sometimes you might see a bass player playing through one. From time to time you see them pop up on the used market, but I believe there's probably thousands of those amps in some closets around the world right now, just gathering dust. But they're decent amps. And Mark says he's not counting basses either. I didn't count any basses either, actually, Mark. I only have two basses, so I'm okay with the bass situation. And Mark says, how many guitars did you own pre having kids? Is the real question. I don't think that actually affected me. My gear addiction started before I was married, and just kind of kept on going even throughout the kids situation. I think maybe at certain points in my life, while having kids, kind of helped me keep my mind together. When you're trying to deal with situations that arise from kids not being able to sleep, or crankiness, or whatever the situation is, there's always a reason. I always say guitars are cheaper than therapy, so playing your guitar changes your state of mind, makes you a more pleasant human, so makes me more bearable in many ways, so I think that's a plus. How many guitars did you buy during the pandemic? I don't think I went overboard with that, but definitely I think there was probably at least 3 or 4 that came in during that time for me. Adopting a guitar is a good thing. They need good homes. I agree with you, Steve. You know, you don't want guitars to be abused, floating around out there unloved. You got to bring them in, show them the love. Casey says 4 acoustics, 20 electrics. I'm currently selling 2 or 3 of my cheaper ones at a time to buy one nice one, but I'll never sell my Bullet Telecaster. See, another vote for Telecasters out there. Yeah, those Bullet Telecasters were quite a thing, and I'm partial to Telecasters too, Casey. Don't tell anyone, but I love Telecasters as well. So yeah, I totally understand. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now with the spring cleaning situation, selling off some of cheaper guitars, just putting the money elsewhere. Actually, just, apart from guitars, I actually got back into setting up my surround system at home just recently, because I had kind of shunned the whole surround thing. And with all the streaming services and all that kind of thing, I kind of just let it kind of die out. And I had equipment that was really good back in the day for surround, but now it's kind of outdated. I had a really nice Marantz receiver that I was using for setting up surround sound, but now you have the whole HDMI pass-throughs and all that kind of stuff integrated into these surround receivers that mine simply didn't have, because it was bought pre 4K and pre HDMI. So I decided to upgrade it and bring in something a little bit more current, which I did the other day, and I started setting things up. And I gotta say, beyond the thrill of watching your movies in surround sound, that's always really cool to have that whole sound ambiance thing. I have to say, listening to music through a system that's set up for surround nowadays is quite impressive. We forget how bad the sound is through streaming services. But thankfully, Apple does allow you to stream in a very lossless format, as opposed to Spotify, which is pretty much garbage in terms of the sound quality. The Apple format is quite good. And I was listening to some Pink Floyd the other day, and I have some settings on the surround sound which mimics a live situation, or either a club or that sort of thing. And I just put in the Wish You Were Here album. Sounded phenomenal, and I forgot how good it is to listen to music at that level and be able to actually feel the music in terms of the vibrations, and have it like totally surrounding you was like awesome. So I'm pretty happy to be going down that route again. It's a little bit of a pain setting up speakers and passing wires so that they're hidden is a little bit tricky, but I think it's well worth it. So it's gonna be fun once it's finally set up. I think I'm actually looking at picking up another 2 speakers today, because the system that I had originally was just Dolby Surround, which is just basically front, left, right, center, and back channels. Now they have 7.1, 8.1, which basically really breaks up the sound and surrounds you completely. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Casey says in 1982, I paid $380 USD for an Alvarez Lawsuit Dove. I still have it, and it's my favorite guitar. Feels like an old friend. Um, yeah, Alvarez was making some really good stuff back then. My not my first acoustic guitar, but I think it was my second acoustic guitar. Was an Alvarez that I ended up buying. I think I paid around $500 in the 80s as well. So it actually stayed with me for a very long time till I upgraded. I actually sold the Alvarez after many, many years. And I ended up buying, this was before I ended up buying my Martin guitar. So I sold the Alvarez. I got a Taylor guitar, which was a great guitar, but it was a little bit too middle of the road for me. Didn't have the highs I was looking for. The sound was very balanced, but it wasn't as dynamic as I wanted it to be. And so then I ended up going and get a Martin guitar, which I like a lot, but it's sort of a smaller sized body, not full sized Martin. So I really like that guitar. Plays really, really well. And then recently just got the Dove from Epiphone, which I'm liking a lot because it has a bigger body. So sounds different than my Martin does, but in a good way. It's, they're both great guitars for different things. So, don't knock the early guitars. Some of them were quite well built. And the thing that I always like to point out is that those, you buy a nice acoustic guitar in 1982, it's got time, many, many years to actually mature. The woods, the sap in the woods come out, the woods mature, and the sound changes. It's almost like a fine wine. Over time, they tend to get better, for whatever reason. Alan says guitars don't need food or cause any trouble. Good investments too. I like to justify purchasing more in my head and to the significant other. You're in a way you bring up a good point, Alan, because I wouldn't have thought that guitars would typically be a good investment. And when I say that, I say that with a caveat, because we're not talking like uber collectible guitars here. I'm not talking about the vintage Strats and the vintage Gibsons, because we know those are pretty good investments if you can find one. But I'm actually surprised that more affordable, very common guitars are looking to be like good investments, because they've jumped so much in price over the last little while that almost all of my guitars here have gone up in value, easily by $300 or $400. So, in a way, that's a good thing, I guess, right? On the flip side of that coin, it's a little bit of a bad sign, because when you're walking into a store today, you're gonna have a hard time finding a decent guitar for under $1,000. The Takamine guitars, Alex, I've tried a few of those guitars. I didn't really ever find one that I actually liked enough to buy. They're very common guitars, and they have a wide variety of different models, from the pretty affordable ones to the decently expensive ones as well. So the ones that were in my price range, I did try, but I ended up going towards the Alvarez, just because it was more bright, and it seemed to be a little bit more dynamic. Gene says, how many companies were involved in this lawsuit era and could have served lawsuits, and could they serve lawsuits again today? I don't know if they're continuing. Today, I think it's getting a very pretty tight in terms of what you can and cannot do with guitars. And so it's not as easy to actually come up with guitars that are blatant copies. And here I am holding a perfect example of a guitar that, if I didn't show you the headstock like this, you would probably guess that it was, that it was a Charvel, and it isn't, right? So, blatant copies, if you're trying to do something like that in the States, the laws are pretty tight. Unfortunately, if you're trying to do stuff like that in overseas, it kind of gets hard to follow up and try and get to the bottom of who's responsible, and be able to sue companies that have different laws and whatnot. So it's a good question that you bring up, but I think that what we've seen even from Gibson, they're taking a hard stance and they're not standing by watching people copy their stuff anymore. And I think a lot more companies are actually doing that right now. Casey says to Cool Tones, when we were dating, my guitars were something she really liked, and when I'm in my guitar room banging on the guitar, she knows exactly where I am and exactly what I'm doing. Plus, you're not spending money in strip joints, right? Or clubs or bars, right? So you can always bring up that argument. It works for a while. Jeff says, I bought 7 guitars between March 20th and March 22nd, 5 amps, and God knows how many pedals. I'm having a reality check here. Sounds about right, Mark. I don't think, Jeff, sounds about right, Jeff. I don't think you're the only one in that scenario. And if you think life got crazy there for a short time, who knows what the future holds. Hey guys, I'm gonna be honest. I was listening to this whole thing between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and it's a train wreck of a situation, and I couldn't help myself. You're kind of like, you don't want to watch. It's kind of like an accident. You don't want to watch, but at the same time, as you're swinging by, you want to kind of glimpse over. What a life. I mean, these guys are nuts. They're both crazy, in my opinion, both of them. I think that if you're living that lifestyle with that kind of money, reality is very different. Your point of view and what you're living through day to day is very different than the average Joe. And when I'm listening to the trial and I'm listening to all this stuff that went on, I'm like, I can't believe it. And it's strange that I guess the old saying that money doesn't buy class, or more money than brains type of thing. I think that's what we're seeing with these people, and it's pretty sad. So I don't know if you guys are following this stuff or if it's just me, but it's like they're both psychos. I think they're both psychos. Oh God, can't believe it. And you're talking 50 bill. Like Johnny's dropping 50. I mean, what's at risk here is $50 million that he's trying to sue her for. She's countersuing him for who knows how much money as well. Like, honestly, 50 million for Johnny, is that really like, that's probably chump change. That's probably like, maybe a house or 2 houses, out of how many houses? He's admitted he owns an island and other things, and I know he's got vineyards in France and all kinds of other things. So, poor guy, right? It's like, oh, what a hard life, poor guy. But when he goes to bed at night and he's, puts his head on his pillow filled with millions of dollars, I think he feels better than most of us do. So I don't know. I don't really, my heart doesn't bleed. Oh God. Lee wants to know if I've ever played a Sire guitar. I have not played a Sire guitar yet, Lee. I've tried to get my hands on some, and haven't been able to. So that's the short answer to that question. Quicksilver says basket case, but still hot. Maybe it's just me, but I don't find her hot at all. There's other women in Hollywood that I would rank way higher than her, but that's just me. Yeah, she doesn't have 50 million that we know of, but she's worth about 30, so this is pretty important for her. I think basically, as Johnny mentioned in his text, he basically wants to destroy her. For him, it wouldn't be a big deal. For her, it would be a big deal. So she's going to have to put on the act of a lifetime when she's on the stand, and I can't wait to see how that pans out. The other day when they were grilling him, they made him look like a fool. They made him look like a nutcase, which I don't think was a stretch. I think that's what I think. they were pretty much bang on. Anyways, hey, he'll end up writing a book. He'll end up, doing a bunch of interviews and whatnot, and he'll make his 50 million back real fast. So there's no worries there for him. Jeff says the old joke. Now we're married, you can get rid of all those guitars. You're starting to sound like Mac's wife. I didn't know you were married before. I wasn't. Jeff, that's exactly the meme I posted not long ago on my Instagram. So there you go. Great minds think alike. Keith says I skipped over it. I skipped over it all week till I saw she was hanging out with Musk. I think that was pre. I don't think she's hanging around with Musk anymore. But yeah, that would be a pretty good upgrade for her, right? Drop Johnny Depp and end up with the richest man in the world. I can't believe it. Cool Tunes, I can't believe it. I don't even want to go there, man. Yeah, I heard about the poop scenario. Like I said, money doesn't buy class, right? So anyways, enough about that. Let's get back to the guitar chat here. Pretty nuts. Lion King wants to know what Les Paul is that on the stack to your left. To my left. My left is this one here. The one in the back there. That one. Is that the one you're talking about? The second one? That's actually a Gibson. That's not a Gibson. There's currently no Gibsons in my rack. They're in the cases and stuff. I'm surprised that Johnny's only worth 150 million. I know he was worth well over 500 million. Who knows? Maybe he's hiding his dough better. The funny thing that I also posted on Instagram yesterday was when in the courtroom one of the lawyers was paraphrasing and was saying how Amber didn't like hanging around with Johnny's friends because they were all old and liked playing guitars. And he kind of the camera kind of was focusing on Johnny's face, and he kind of had like a semi-smile smirk kind of thing, saying, in his mind he was probably saying this chick doesn't know what she's talking about, So I had to post that one because he's hanging around with a bunch of rockers. Johnny said over and over again that he never really wanted to be an actor. He always was looking to be a musician, right? So I don't know. I mean, I guess he played guitar from an early age and ended up stumbling into acting, and I guess the money got good, after a while, and the money got good, and he was able to pay his bills and do so much more. So I guess he kind of left the love for playing guitar. But now that he's kind of, I don't know if he's kind of semi-retired or what, he's probably going to keep on acting for a while, but maybe we'll see him less often. He's spending his time with the, what is the band called? The Hollywood Vampires, something like that. Or the LA Vampires, something like that, with Alice Cooper and a few other people. I know he's friends with people like Marilyn Manson and other people as well in the rock world. And yeah, Rihanna cracked 1 billion, So what does that say about our situation right now? I'm happy for her. I'm happy she's a billionaire. But it's just, it's pretty nuts. Jeff wants to know, Tony, have you seen the Burns Marquis? The trem looks very similar to a Vega trem. The guitar is on sale now in the UK for about the same price as a Vega trem. I haven't seen it, but I'll take a look after the show. The Burns Marquis. Actually, let me just type it in now. Maybe I can actually see what you're talking about here. This is something new, and I like new stuff. There we go. I'm looking at it right now. Burns Marquee. The one I'm looking at here, there's a few of them actually listed on Reverb. They vary in price from $642 all the way to $1,800. So I don't know. Am I looking on? Am I looking at the right one here? They're made in London. It's not my style of guitar, to be honest. From the photos that I'm looking at here, I'm not a big fan of how they've placed the pick guard on the front of the guitar. But I'll take a look at it in a little bit more detail after the show. Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, guys, is the fact that there's been some rumors of a possible Van Halen tribute show. I don't know if you guys have read this or seen this. There's been a couple of announcements. Well, not really announcements, but they're kind of, I guess, trickling out some information about a rumored Van Halen tour. And I know that David Lee Roth kind of chimed in about this, and they call it a celebration tour, or whatever that means. And they're basically rumors at this point, but the idea being that they would start, a tour playing Van Halen music, and there would be a lineup that is comprised of maybe one or two guitarists, one or two bass players, one or two singers. I don't know about the singer situation, because we all know the situation between David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar. But it seems to be like they're only rumors at this point, but it seems like people know about this because Joe Satriani says he's been in talks with Alex Van Halen about this and David Lee Roth about the possible Van Halen tribute tour. And but I don't think anything's been confirmed. And there also were rumors of maybe having both Michael Anthony play bass on that, and perhaps also Wolfgang, depending on his tour and whether or not it'd be possible and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I mean, we've heard stuff like this before. It could be interesting to see some kind of a tribute band going on. I don't know what's happening with David Lee Roth and his voice. We all cringed when we saw some of David's last videos. Let's just say he wasn't up to par, and he was struggling there. So who knows? But it could be an interesting thing that is shaping up to possibly happen. But again, when it comes to Van Halen, there's been so many rumors, so many things that have popped up over the years that never actually ended up happening, fizzled out. So who knows? But I just wanted to throw that out there in case you guys have heard about that. Lee wants to know, do you have a Players Series, any Players Series Fenders in your collection? No, I don't, Lee. I normally, the ones that I have are kind of reissues normally. The players that I've looked at recently are hovering at about $1,099. They're nice looking guitars in terms of a kick around everyday guitar. I think they're okay. $1,000. Unfortunately, I find that they should be more around the $899 mark instead of $1,000. What I don't like about them is that you don't have. I think they're not offering them with any rosewood. It's Powell Ferro neck, fretboard, or maple. I'm not a big fan of the Powell Ferro stuff myself. So, but I don't really feel the need to go the route of the Player Series because the guitars I do have, I don't have one. I just put one down, but I had one here earlier today. They kind of scratched that itch for me. Lion King wants to know, do you think Nitro guitars are worth it? My friend is trying to buy his first Telecaster but doesn't know if he should save up for a road worn or buy a Player Series right now. Um, I'm a little confused by your question when you say whether or not Nitro guitars are worth it. Because, worth it in what sense? Are you talking tone or are you just talking durability? Nitro, to me, in terms of sound, nobody's going to hear the difference. So don't worry about that. If you're looking at a Nitro guitar because you like the way they wear, because Nitro guitars do tend to wear differently than guitars that are poly finished. Poly is like, I've said it over and over again, it's like taking a guitar and dipping it in a vat of plastic. You're basically creating a thick plastic coating on your guitar, which is good in terms of durability because they tend to withstand a lot. Unfortunately, if you do get a blunt force impact on your guitar, they tend to chip. And then you have a big fat piece of plastic that's missing from your guitar, which are not easy to repair and not very nice looking. The Nitro guitars are very thin, so they tend to wear, and you will see the guitar finish wear as you're playing it over time, which a lot of people like. I tend to like that a lot, and I find that Nitro finishes are kind of easier to fill if you want to, if you want to fix a chip or something like that, which, by the way, they don't usually chip as easily. So in my opinion, I kind of like the Nitro just because I like the way they wear. So to answer your question, I really want to understand whether or not you're asking me from a durability perspective or from something else. I mean, I'm a little confused because you're saying, I don't know if it's a durability aspect, because you're saying, should you save up for a road worn? I mean, a road worn is already all dinged and like pre-worn, so I'm not clear on what exactly the point you were trying to get out of that with that question. So maybe just clarify below, and I'll answer that. Hey, John D, nice to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming in. Surfer Bye, good morning from Boston. Sorry I'm late. No worries, buddy. No worries. We've been on for about an hour and 12 minutes exactly. We'll stay on a little bit longer. What the heck? Yeah, Jeff, you bring up an excellent point. Not as cringe as the recent Bon Jovi video. I don't know what's going on there. I'm a big fan of Phil X. I'm sure a lot of you guys know Phil X, an excellent player. He's the hired gun that came in to replace the ex-guitarist Richie Sambora for Bon Jovi. And I don't know what's going on, but the last few videos that I've seen of them playing live, John Bon Jovi didn't sound very good. Sounded a lot like Dave, unfortunately. He was singing the songs weirdly, not hitting the notes correctly. The style of his singing seems to have changed. So I don't know if he's having some voice issues or some hearing issues or maybe both. Maybe the pandemic hiatus has put him out of shape, but it's scary. I don't know what's going on. Have you guys seen that? I mean, I couldn't understand. So I was hoping that maybe Phil would comment on that, but I guess he's not gonna go on record saying anything nasty about his boss unless he wants to lose his gig there. But if you go in and you check out some of the latest videos, not good. Not good at all. Let's see here. We're still talking about some Nitro stuff, so let's talk about Nitro a little bit more. Paul says, in any given month, Queen makes more money from downloads than the sales from all of the big name current pop music stars combined. Rick Beato did a video on it. Well, I'm glad that somebody from the classic rock era is actually making money. So if they're making money, I'm pretty sure bands like Led Zeppelin are making money and so on and so forth. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Because, the money they were making back in the day is nowhere compared to what people are making now. Unfortunately, they are being screwed by all the big tech companies that are basically making a ton of money on their recordings for like fractions of a penny. So what's going on? So yeah, part one. New York Defect says part one. Johnny went to LA with his band in early 80s. Band broke up. His friend told him to see if his agent can get him work. Yeah, apparently it was Nicolas Cage that requested or kind of advised Johnny to go and see his agent, and that's what he did, and he ended up getting some work right away, and so on and so forth, yada yada, and the rest is history. Presley, California Custom says it's worth it. Nitro is nice. I like Nitro. Part two, he walked into Nightmare on Elm Street, 21 Jump Street, and then realized any hope of being a musician had been ruined. Yeah, I think his bank account told him otherwise. It's kind of hard, right? It's also hard to go back and be taken seriously as an actor when you're already as a musician when you're already an actor. It's funny because guys like Billy Bob Thornton have made himself look like a fool walking out of interviews when people are asking him questions about his acting career, and he wanted to be taken seriously as a musician. I mean, he's done pretty much zero as a musician and way more as an actor. So I think it's kind of normal that people will look at you as an actor, wouldn't you say? So Surfer By wants to know if I've tried the Line 6 Pod Go or the HX Stomp. I have. I've tried both of those units. I ended up trying both of those units before I ended up buying the Hotone, the Ampero, the original one, not the version 2 that I have here. Version 3, actually. I bought the large one, and they came out with a smaller one, the Ampero 1, and now I have the Ampero Stomp 2, which I'm liking a lot. So I ended up trying the multi-effects, the Pod Go, and the HX Stomp. Not a bad unit. I just felt it was a little bit too limited for me in terms of the features and functions that I was looking for. So that's why I ended up going the other route. Okay, and Larry also says I'm not buying the lie that spraying nitro on guitars is killing the environment. Come on. Well, I don't know if it's killing the environment, but it's definitely killing the people spraying the guitars. Nitro is nasty. You got to be super careful with nitro if you're going to be spraying that kind of stuff. You got to have the whole everything. Respirators, you got to have filters, you got to have everything, because you're going to get nasty stuff in your lungs, which is going to cause some long-term health effects. So got to be super careful with that stuff. Plus, it's very flammable. Got to be careful with that as well. Fat Philosopher says, dropping Boss pedals on your guitars are a good way to relic your poly finish. It certainly is. If you're not sure whether or not you have a poly finish or a nitro finish, that is a good way to check. Just drop something heavy and sharp on your guitar and see what happens. Presley says, is it really ripping it off if you think it's cool and do it on stuff you build? Probably not. Stuff that you build, it's all good. You know, we're not talking mass production here. We're talking, a couple of guitars. Casey Lee says, in my area, used player series guitars run about 4 to 650. So first of all, I think you're probably in the States. I'm in Canada, so you got to tag in another 35% on top of that price. I don't know how well the player series hold their value. If you're buying them at about $1,000, I'm thinking used, probably looking at about 900 these days, and somewhere around there once you factor in the going price plus taxes and all that kind of stuff. This is Canadian I'm talking now. Surfer By says Nitro is nice, so is Poly, but Poly does chip. I have to do a repair on a Charvel that slipped out of a stand. Chip was significant. Yeah, unfortunately, those chips are not easy to... You got to drop fill them for a long time. And even at that, unless it's a solid color, it's kind of hard to hide. It can be done, but it's tricky. Lion King says, Addicted to Gear, I think my friend was just referring to whether the actual wearing aspect was worth the extra money. I'll tell him what you told me and make him decide for himself. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes it's not, the questions are not 100% clear to me, sorry. Some questions I get, and some questions I have questions about the questions, so I just want to be able to make sure I have the right information before I end up giving people advice I'm going to regret. One of the other things that kind of bothered me was that I saw a couple of indications that Ibanez was releasing what they call a Tamura Mod TS808 tube screamer, which is, now they say it's the ultimate and best version of the legendary overdrive pedal. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a little tired of hearing that there's another tube screamer and it's going to be even better than the last one that was supposed to be the best one or the most authentic sounding one. You know, how many times are we going to beat this dead horse? You know what I'm saying? So this new one, I don't know how much it's actually selling for. I would have to look it up. But basically, it's another tube screamer, and apparently they're saying that, Mr. Tamara, who is the person, I guess, responsible for this pedal, attempted to replicate the actual original tube screamer tone. He spent 3 years and analyzed hundreds of these 808s to determine what the best sounding units would be, anyways, did his magic mojo and created some integrated circuit that would replicate this beautiful sound. And now, of course, Ibanez is trying to sell us one of these things. So how much does this thing cost? I'm just curious to see now, because I don't know the price of it. And I'm going to look it up here and see if I can find one just to see how much they're asking for these things. If there's any even available. I know there's some there's one floating around on eBay for $505. And I don't know if you can find these in the stores right now or not. Let's see here. Let me just see if somebody's selling one brand new and how much the price is. All right. It says, so the retail price that I'm looking at here was $499. It's on sale right now for $359. That's US, not Canadian. So I guess they originally were $499. So I don't know, guys. I mean, honestly, how many times are we going to be fleeced by people talking about the best tube screamer? You know, it's the only thing out hyping the tube screamer is, of course, the Klon. And I took a picture of a screen capture of something I came across the other day where there was somebody selling a Klon Centaur professional overdrive. And I don't know, you guys are probably not gonna believe me. This was listed a week ago in Ontario, and the person was asking for $6,999. I don't know if you can see it there. $6,999. So there's always that. You know, that's a lot of money for a pedal. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Anyways, I'm not going to buy it. Needless to say. Oh, God. Rico wants to know what the real retail price on my guitar, the one I'm playing now. Yeah, it's a good question because I haven't looked in a while to see whether or not the prices went up on this guitar. Let me just see if I can find it for you, okay? My dog is snoring so hard right now. Excuse me. These were listed on eBay, by the way, so I don't know if you can buy them elsewhere right now, but I think there's one on Amazon in the US or maybe Canada. It's not the same guitar. It's the same model, but it has a middle pickup, a single coil, and on Amazon, is it even available right now to purchase? Let me just see here. On Amazon, it is, well, unfortunately, it's currently unavailable on Amazon. Okay, so never mind Amazon. Let's go to, there's an actual, you can go to ZUWEI USA, which is, I guess, their USA store. I'm going to see if they have this model. If they do, I'll tell you in a second here. Because I bought this off of eBay, so it was... okay, they don't have it on their store as well. Huh. What about eBay? Let's see. Let me just... Maybe they're out of stock everywhere. I'm not really sure. Doesn't seem to be coming up for me right now. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. Bear with me. Now you got me curious. So I want to make sure that I can give you the information. I don't want to let you guys down here. I'm sure they're still floating around. It's just that I think maybe some guitars are just out of stock. They don't have much inventory for whatever reason. Interesting. Well, I can't see. I don't see any on eBay right now popping up. That's strange. Not one. What do you know? That's really odd. So there you go. I'm surprised. I guess maybe they're just not available right now for whatever reason. The guitar wasn't expensive when I ordered it. It was $300 around there. But I guess you can get them now. Odd. Things change. Things change quick. So one of the things I was thinking about doing with this guitar, because I noticed that the tuning stability is a little bit lacking, I ended up getting this little device, which is a guitar nut buster. Can you see that, guys? This guy? Guitar nut buster, which is basically, it looks like a locking nut that gets installed just about here. You gotta pass it over into your strings. So basically it goes in right after your nut, right after the nut there. and nothing actually screws into the body of the guitar. It's actually free floating and basically hugs your strings, but it acts the same way as a locking nut does, and it allows you to get better tuning stability. So I wanted to install it on this guitar, put a fresh set of strings on this guitar, and install the nut buster here and see how it does. I'm curious because I haven't tried this product before. It's a product that is made in the US. It's patented. Guitar Nut Buster is the name. Don't Google Nut Buster because you'll be surprised what comes up. But if you're interested, you can Google Guitar Nut Buster. And I'm going to do a review of the installation of this thing and a little pre and post sample of what it does for the tuning on the guitar. So if anybody's interested in helping a guitar along that may have some tuning issues or tuning stability, that's something that you can do without necessarily reverting to a Floyd Rose or something like that. I don't want to turn this guitar into a guitar that has a locked bridge and a locked nut, but if I can do something to help it along, that seems like an interesting option. So I took one for the team, got one, and we'll give you some feedback on that and give you, you know, a little bit of hope if you have a guitar that needs to have a bit more control of the tuning issues here. Yeah, there's definitely Quicksilver. You definitely have to add, you know, that customs fee. And to be honest with you, I can never figure out what that customs fee will be ahead of time. You never know what you're gonna get. One time it's peanuts. One time it's really expensive. I don't know what kind of formula they're using at customs to calculate all this stuff, but it's never the same, and it's always a surprise. So you have to be aware of that if you're ordering from overseas, anything overseas. Surfer By says Timmy's are also getting ridiculous prices on reverb. I know, I've seen those prices. I agree. The cologne makes Fat Philosopher sick. Yeah, man. I mean, $6,000 for anything. Come on. It's just one, you know, definitely taking advantage. Paul says the big deal in cheapies are the ERT guitars at the moment. About 25% more than other cheapies, but killer fit, finish, and build. Philip McKnight raves about them, and he buys them, not freebies. Same here. The one I did a review on, which is back there in my rack, just behind the that Harley Benton with the P90s. It's still there. Really great guitar. It's a killer guitar for the money. Definitely agree with you. If you can still grab them, the prices are going up fast, guys. So if you like those E-Art guitars, I like them. I definitely would get another one, maybe a Strat style one. I just don't like the SSH configuration. They don't come in a HH configuration right now. So that's the only reason why I haven't grabbed a Strat yet, but maybe I will. But in terms of value for money, they're great. The only thing that, you know, may require an upgrade, if you wish, is the pickup. So I agree with Paul. Now we're going up the wrong road, guys. You guys, I had a feeling the Guitar Nut Buster would start this list of funny names. Fat Philosopher says there's a pick company in Japan called Master 8. Makes me laugh every time. Yeah. And Steve says, I got some beaver nut wash. Turns out it's for your hands. Oh boy. Quicksilver says, no chippies, no, not cheapies anymore. I've seen an ERT model that is $800 or $900 USD. So I don't know why that is, if that's more of the upgraded models, the higher end versions that they're offering. I hope it's not the same ones that I have here. If the prices are going up that fast, it's red flag time. Presley says probably slave labor. I don't know. Can't comment on that. Maybe, maybe not. Always bad names. I don't know why that is, Fat Philosopher. They always end up like, why can't they just pick a name that is not hard to pronounce? I don't understand, you know? It's just one of the things that's lacking on the guitar, you know, is that, and it's right there, big, and you know, it's like the Wang's company that makes those Marshall clone heads. I mean, when they picked the name Wang, didn't they associate or make the association? I don't know, man. They should consult somebody before they actually pick a name. And Quicksilver says the E3S model is going for $869. Yeah, just a little bit overpriced. Just a little bit overpriced. So I guess that ship has sailed if you guys are looking at getting an E-Art guitar or ERT guitar at a decent price. Perhaps wait till you can find a used one, maybe. You know, I still think they would be great value to buy used if you can find one. Instead of biting the bullet and paying the full price, unfortunately. Sad. It's sad that, you know, you have to like struggle to find a good deal on a decent guitar. You know, why does everything have to cost $1,000? You know, I still don't get it. Anyways, it just encourages me to work on my own builds even more, you know. And I have another Strat build on the way, so I'm going to be doing that soon. By the way, guys, I wanted to give you the heads up because I know there's about there's 55 of you on right now, around that. I wanted to give you the heads up because you guys are, you know, always very generous with your time and supporting the channel and so on and so forth. That I wanted to give back to you guys, and I wanted to give you the heads up that there will be a contest that is going to happen the first week of May on this channel, Addicted to Gear, where you're going to be able to win yourself a guitar kit, a pretty nice guitar kit. So if anybody likes to build guitars like I do, the contest will be quite straightforward. You're just going to have to subscribe to my channel, subscribe to the channel where the guitar kit originates from. Let us know why you like to build guitar kits, why you would like to have a guitar kit, and you can win yourself a really, really nice guitar kit, which could make an excellent project for the spring. So the contest is not active yet, but you guys are the first to know. So pay attention, because it's not going to run for a long time. It's probably going to run for about a week or 2 weeks or something like that. And you'll be able to win something really, really nice. All right? So stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming up. And after that draw comes another draw that I'm going to be doing for a cool pedal, which is also going to be something I'm going to announce on the channel. So, you know, a couple of really nice things, just ways for me to say thank you guys for supporting the channel and being there specifically during the Sunday shows, all right? So you have a pretty good chance of winning, and don't delay in terms of signing up for that and making sure you're entered in the contest. So Fat Philosopher says, I like how my Ibanez Wizard neck was thin but wide. Also like the wide neck on my Dean V better for my long fat fingers. Yeah, the Ibanez necks are definitely a little bit different than what I'm used to on my Strat guitars as well. I've tried a few Ibanez guitars. I've had a couple in my collection that have come and gone. I don't currently have any Ibanez guitars in my collection. Um, the newer guitars seem to be a little bit more classic feeling in terms of the necks. But yeah, those Wizard necks were definitely a lot wider and a lot narrower front to back. So it definitely felt different. So people that do have, bigger fingers or whatever might feel that's more comfortable for them. But I haven't gotten back to Ibanez guitars for whatever reason yet. I just didn't feel the urge to go that route again. EF says, for me, string spacing is the most important spec on a guitar. I found I prefer 2 and 1/16 of an inch at the saddle over all others. I definitely agree with you. I've actually sold guitars because of the string spacing that I wasn't bonding with. I had a really nice Ernie Ball Music Man, beautiful guitar, really well built, but the spacing on the nut end was just too narrow for me. It didn't feel like it was such a big deal. It was like, fractions of a millimeter, but it ended up not doing it for me, and I had to sell that guitar. And it's a shame because that was the only reason I didn't like that guitar. Everything else on that guitar was wonderful. So yeah, I agree with you, EF. Well, I'm glad you like the Sunday chats. I like the Sunday chats too, and definitely a good way to start the weekend. Sundays are supposed to be for you. You're supposed to rest and take it easy. So yeah, why not? You have a coffee, you listen to the chat, you get your fill, take the dog out for a walk, think about what we said, and make another purchase. I think it's a good combination. It's a good way to enjoy your weekend. I'm going to be doing the same later today. Don't worry. I'll be walking the dog. So one other question, one other question. One other thing I wanted to mention is, the Foo Fighters, before the drummer passed away, Taylor Hawkins, which was a very sad thing to hear. They had released this Foo Fighters Studio 666, which was kind of a spoof, I would say, kind of a horror movie mixed with, some kind of, musical. I want to say I haven't seen it. I'm curious, has anyone here seen it? Is it actually worth watching? I'm curious. It's kind of like now, after the drummer passed away, kind of like the thunder was taken away from that. I was curious because it seemed kind of goofy to me, but in a fun way, So I figured it'd be cool to maybe catch that eventually, but I didn't hear much about it. I don't know if it's even still playing, but do you guys even know about it? Has anybody heard about it? I don't know. I haven't heard anybody tell me that they've watched it and it's good, so I have no clue. Don't really know. It's something along those lines, Rico, where it's Dave kills off people, he becomes possessed or something. But I don't know what again, the Rotten Tomato rating on that would be. Maybe something I could take a look at and see. I haven't watched any crazy rock and roll musical like that since I was a kid, and I think I watched the cheesy Kiss movie. What was it called? Kiss at I don't even remember what the hell. Phantom of the something or other. All I can remember is that they were at some sort of amusement park scenario. I don't even remember. It's been so long, but I just remember watching and how cheesy it was. And I wonder if that's still around. It might be fun to watch that again one day just to see how bad it actually was. Anyways, on that note, guys, I think we're going to call it a day. I've been talking almost an hour and 45 minutes now, and I think you guys are gonna overdose on me today. So I want to give you guys a break to be able to do the other things you have planned. Thank you, Scott. Phantom meets the Phantom. Yeah, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. That's what it was called. Very cheesy. Funny, thinking back at that now, but super cheesy. Like, super cheesy. I'm surprised you guys all know that. That's funny. Rico says 56% tomato meter, 80% audience score. So obviously the fans are rating it a lot more than the overall. Interesting. And Gene says the last movie I saw was the Queen movie. And I watched the Queen movie. I didn't watch Rocket Man, the movie about Elton John. Did not watch that one. That's about it. You know, I don't watch that much TV. But now that I got my surround sound set up again, maybe I'll start doing that again. So maybe the next one I watch will be Studio 666. We'll see. All right, guys. Thank you so much for another very, very enjoyable Sunday morning chat. I appreciate them. I appreciate the time we spent together, and I look forward to the next one. I hope you guys will stay safe and give me more feedback next week. There'll be another poll that I'm going to be putting up for you guys probably just before the next Sunday show. And this week there's going to be a couple of different videos going out. So stay tuned for those. What else can I say, guys? Thank you. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for all the thumbs up and the nice comments and the great questions. Keep them coming. And if you have any questions along the way on any of the other gear that I review and talk about, just feel free to just drop me a message in my chat or send me a direct message on social media or even through my regular email, and I'll answer your questions. All right. So guys, take care of yourself and be good humans till next Sunday. We'll talk again.